welcome to the new series from Performance Works International, Guest Practices. I'm Jeremy Blaine, CEO of Performance Works International, and I'll be running a series of videocasts with special guests who have a story to tell from both business and life experiences. The conversations are designed to explore their journey, uncovering new ideas, innovations, and next practices that we can all learn from and be inspired by. Today I'm joined by Andy Boothman, tech entrepreneur, founder and CEO of DressCode shirts among other businesses. DressCode's inspired by tech, and each shirt is available with smart tech built into it. It's all about digital design. They develop unique patterns using icons and other techie elements, create beautiful shirts, high fashion shirts in fact, some louder than others as Andy will tell you. But what they've also done is create the world's first smart shirt featuring CashCuff technology, taking contactless payment to a whole new level. No wallet, no phone, no app required, direct contactless payment from your sleeve. Live it, love it and wear it, as in IT of course. Andy's other business, Busy as a Bee, is a marketing agency focused around personal relationships, working with the right people on behalf of their customers to really understand the need, direct the budget in the right way, leverage technology so that the message gets out there to the right target audience in the right method and the right way. Andy's approach is simple. He works closely with his clients to co-create solutions, be that marketing or be that shirt. So I'm delighted to welcome him to this videocast, and I want to find out more about this great CashCuff technology. Hi and good morning, Andy. How are you?
I'm really well, Jeremy. Thank you. Nice to be with you today.
Well, thanks very much for joining us. So let's get straight into it. I've talked a little bit about you and your businesses and how you have innovated. So just maybe introduce yourself and two of those, the DressCode business and Busy as a Bee for us.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I'm Andy Boothman. As Jeremy's just said, a couple of businesses that I run. Probably best known at the moment for DressCode Shirts, which is an online shirt design and retail business. Historically, and kind of backing that up, is Busy as a Bee, which is my design and branding business. That's been going nearly 23 years now, my word.
Wow, 23 years and still going strong. And yeah. You really are at the forefront of innovation, and I just found it fascinating and really wanted you on this video cast. And wanted to ask you a real key question going forward, particularly as a business leader. How did adopting digital as a leader of your business, first of all, help you reimagine, particularly, let's say, DressCode and the core product that you have, to digitally enable it, but at the same time, remaining that strong human touch, which is all about the business really, internally and with your customers? Yeah,
it's a really, really good point. For me, with DressCode, digital was the only way forward. I never considered anything other, to be honest, just because we could already see things migrating in that space. You know, digital first has become the norm for many consumers now. They wouldn't, if you're looking at making a considered purchase, you're going to do any sort of research around that online first and foremost. It's unlikely someone's going to go to the trouble of visiting physical premises to scope stuff out and things like that. So that just felt like a very, very natural thing. I kind of, like all of these things, when you're first sort of got the idea and are exploring concepts, I should say, you're thinking to yourself, this feels right in my gut, but how do I kind of validate it? So I did speak to a friend who's in data and analytics and said, look, this is the concept. Tell me what's and all, am I mad, or is there kind of something there? And we worked together and did a piece to look at audience segmentation and what was going on in different sectors and on different platforms to ensure that there were people who were interested and that would connect with what we perceived to be the brand values from that very early sort of stage. So certainly data is a wonderful thing. We've got ready access to tons and tons of of it these days. There's never been quicker and easier ways to validate any of your thinking processes. But putting my branding experience hat on, one of the things that I guess I've found a lot over the years is that many businesses are going purely on gut instinct. There's no data behind it. There's no science that actually says this is what customers want. It's just purely, oh, we think this will work. And sometimes that comes off, which is wonderful, but it's a risky maneuver. And why would you do that when you can look at the process end to end and say, these are the people, these are where they are. We can offer this in that space, and embrace all of the kind of automation and digital technology that allows you to do that with ease, as opposed to kind of reacting very much off the hoof and being very, you could be very busy but not actually producing very much because you're very, very hands-on. So yeah, that was in a bit of a rambling answer, but hope that kind of gives you a few of the bits.
Yeah, it does actually, and you mentioned a point about being data driven on this, and this is a really key point right now. Data driven decision making. It's about speed, agility, all of those kind of things, and you can see how that's played a very, very big part in this first innovation of yours. I presume you're wearing one of those now, are you?
I am, yeah. The CashCuff is what you're referring to.
Yes, yeah. Tell us a bit about that.
So the world of wearables is a really fast-moving space. Very, very interesting for us and for me in particular. Just love it. I think there's the opportunities here are absolutely immense. But following the launch of DressCode, it had always been my kind of vision that we would create some sort of wearable. The biggest issue you've got around wearables at this moment in time is the kind of fall-off rates are just astronomical. You look at Fitbits and things like that, and people stick with it for around about 10 to 12 weeks, and then it's gone. So how do we get involved? How do we come up with something that's got genuine added value for people? Well, we've done our research. We had our personas, our audience data, etc., and started looking at what was there that was common across all of those that would be of help, and how can a shirt actually offer something that's going to be meaningful to these people? Because we've got the data, that's great, it tells us that this is what these people want, but equally we've got to do something that's human. And if we don't bring those two together, then forget it, really. There's been many examples in the past of fantastically innovative pieces of tech. When we think back to Betamax and VHS, for example, the pure craziness of all of that and the way that it played out. So it's how do we join those bits? And went back to the data and looked through to see what was common. And we started to think about the really, really small parts of people's day. So what would it be that people were doing as they were going to the office, on a lunchtime, after work, times when you've still got your shirt on, your clothes on. So how could that help you? And the thing that came out in the data is there was a lot of small transactions that were happening during the day, whether that be just paying to get on the bus, tube, to pick up newspapers, coffees, a drink after work, snacks and things at lunchtime, lots and lots of small transactions. And it just kind of got us thinking, I wonder if there's a way that we can kind of take some of that contactless technology and build it into the shirt. So started looking around, and it's a very interesting places. Fintech, that I mentioned wearables moving fast. Fintech and the banking models are going through enormous innovation at the moment. Many new fully digital banks that are completely kind of eclipsing the traditional high street ones in terms of service and what customers want, and the kind of way in which people are embracing this as well. So it was like, right, there's a definite appetite there. So we found the right technology, found a way of actually getting it so that it's in here all the time, and it's safe, because that's always been the big thing for people. And we brought that together. And yeah, I mean, it's been amazing. The reaction is fantastic from customers, but it's also, when you actually use it, the reaction from the retailers is always like, whoa, What? And you're just like, yeah, and then, pre kind of COVID, you would start showing them, and they'd be like, oh wow, that's cool, and fantastic conversation piece, always, absolutely always, and that's been a really big part of the dress code sort of philosophy. Clothes are a really important part of expressing our personality, and the designs that we're creating have got a lot to say and are great ways of expressing some of that. And if you can then take that to another level with some inbuilt physical tech there, then it's just like, it kind of double tick, shall we say, for our customers. So that was where that all came from.
Well, hey, it's just so cool, Andy. I mean, really, it's like, so just pretend your camera then is the terminal. What would you do? Go on.
Literally, I would just hold that within about 2 inches of the payment terminal, and in exactly the same way you would have done with your card or anything like that, you've paid, but you don't have to get your phone out, which I think is a really, really important thing, because there's places where you might be just wanting to get a drink, where do you want to be getting a device out that's potentially worth £1,000 to pay for something that's £1, £1.50?
Yeah, exactly. I
don't think you do. So there's lots of things that are great about it. You don't have to go searching around for cards. As long as you've got your shirt on, it's all there, and everything reports back to your phone ultimately as well. So if you're concerned about anything, that you get a full report of any spending, and because it's a pay forward system, you can actually cap what you spend as well. So it's not as though there's credit card details on there and someone's going to be able to go out and spend thousands. It's I'm going to say this now because it's my product, but it is great, and the reaction from customers has been absolutely fantastic. It really has.
Great. So I love it. So keep your shirt on then. That's the big message. I can imagine it on the tube actually in London. Can't you just kind of placing your hand down and people looking around say, where do I get one of those? Great model, I have to say. Yeah. And I actually I really like the fact that you brought together, as you say, it's the human touch with the digital as well. You mentioned that, didn't you?
Yeah, it's really, really important. The digital processes that we have around us are only any good if it brings value to your day and makes things, sweeter in some way, shape or form. And I think we're in an interesting place right now with where the phone is at, because that has probably overstepped the mark of what it should be doing in terms of what's now referred to as digital distraction. CashCuff is in that place as well in terms of kind of helping take away some of that distraction. I think we're going to get a kind of switching of power, shall we say, from phone into doing other things. And clothes, in my mind, and from the kind of work that we're doing, I believe are a really, really strong part of where that innovation will come and move across, because there's the scope to do things with your clothing is massive, absolutely massive.
Well, that's a really big statement as well, is that this is almost ushering in. We could be seeing the end of the phone as the be all and end all, and actually having fit for purpose devices that can be, of course, linked to one great ecosystem. I suppose that'll be the advent of the Internet of Things when it all comes together. But having that vision of where this could possibly go really helps, which actually brings me to another point, because when you talk about this, you're on it, you're embracing the data, you're embracing digital, you understand the importance of the human touch, but not all leaders are being so successful as they're going through so-called digital transformation, particularly as we went through the recent pandemic, and the almost forced the issue for many. So based on your own journey and continuing journey, of course, what would your advice be to leaders who have been or still are struggling to transform their businesses into, a digitally enabled, innovative, agile and flexible organization for the era that we're living in?
Well, first and foremost, as you've just said, I think if you haven't embraced digital, then you've got a big problem, really big problem going forward, because, where possibly pre-COVID, you might have got away with this for a little bit longer. The lockdown and everything else has accelerated the process forward at an incredible pace. I don't think any of us would have been able to foresee, and it would have taken something like this to speed it up. But if you haven't got it, you've got to get it, basically. I think the other thing that I would kind of bring into the digital first thing is also mindset for whoever those business leaders are, and that kind of constant innovation piece. And that is where digital really comes into its own, because the ability that those tools bring us, the speed at which we can realize ideas and concepts with minimal overheads. We're not talking about vast amounts of investment here. You can do these things really quickly, almost on the fly sometimes, and say, right, let's just try that and see if we can get proof of concept for it. Processes that historically might have taken 18 months, 2 years, you can put it out there in a matter of days. And because you've got data around your audience and your segmentation and things like that, you can try different things in front of different people, measure it, and it's amazing. Why would you not want to do that when it's all there and it's readily available? And like I say, it doesn't cost the earth to have access to these things. It is there, and it's just a case of making good use of it, really.
What you mentioned is a really interesting point. There is speed trumping size. Is like we should be thinking about how quick we are, not how big we are, because we don't know what's around the corner, the disruptions that are impacting our own business, etc. So that speed, not just of action, but speed to be able to make a decision and crack through processes that could have taken so long in the past, it's breaking down that. And I think you're right when you said it's the mentality first. So can you kind of go back to a point where you had an epiphany around this in your own trajectory as a leader? Definitely.
There's a couple of things that really kind of stand out to me. First and foremost, I think I was quite lucky in that when I did my design degree, we spent a lot of time looking at different ways of thinking. And at the time, you're thinking, this all sounds a bit ethereal, and it was to solve design problems, and that was what I was being trained for, which is great. But that breadth and not filtering things too quickly when you are kind of going through brainstorming ideas, it served me really, really well in business. So first and foremost, I would say that. And the other thing was with the branding and design business, I saw over a period of probably about 4 years, the footfall into the office from clients declining. More and more, they would prefer that we visited them, and various people within the team would also be saying, can I do this from home? Can I do that? And it just got to a point where I thought, right, we're carrying significant overhead here that we just don't need. People will be happier to have the flexibility of work from home, do some stuff, co-working space, even do a few days together, in somewhere, some sort of shared office space, something like that. Clients, we go to them because that's what they want, and did that and never really looked back. Got to be honest, got happy clients, happy team. So it's really, really worked well, I would say.
Oh, thanks for that. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So really, again, great learning that you can apply, of course.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And in these days, really, you have to, because as we know, it's particularly when we're talking about an innovative product like DressCode, for example, and your CashCuff, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, so they say. However, innovation today is potentially a Me Too product tomorrow. So, with that mentality, how do innovative organizations like yours, in the face of what we could describe as hyper competition, competition that exists today, ones that may start up tomorrow, how do you stay ahead of the curve and ahead of the game?
I personally, I think it's about never sitting back and thinking the job's done. It's just not as simple as that. I think, there's always going to be an opportunity to improve what you've done. Now, that improvement could come in lots and lots of different ways, whether it's improving the environmental credentials around it, whether it's improving the working methods. There's lots and lots of things. But one of the things that I'd learned very early on is never kind of get to that point where you go, done it now, because that just doesn't exist. Whatever it is that you've done and you created, that's great, but you need to be then thinking about, right, how can we improve that and take that to the next level for the next version? And while you're doing those journeys, there's also immense other points of learning and exposure to different things which come in and kind of give you other ideas. And it should be an organic and enjoyable, dare I say it, experience doing all this sort of stuff, because you're starting from a strong core and expanding out, but keeping grounded and keeping realistic about stuff. Not letting any success go to your head, saying, right, this is great, but what can we do to kind of make it even better? What can we offer that's going to make these people even happier and add more value? There's always something more to do, and we're always going to be learning and developing and going forwards. That's just natural. It's evolution.
And as you say, starting from that or continuing from that strong core and always asking the question, what next? Is the mentality. It is a mentality, as you said before, about that sort of leadership mentality that needs in place, because that's then infectious for the rest of the organization, for your customers who are expecting, and it can propel you forward, surely.
Most definitely will propel you forward. And the speed at which technology is moving at the moment, I think it doesn't matter what sector you're in, what products or services you're providing. Things are moving at incredible pace. So, there's going to be better, slicker, more innovative ways of delivering and producing whatever it is you're doing. It's just simply a case of keeping your eyes open to those, embracing them, and physically going out there and challenging people, within your kind of ecosystem of what you're doing, saying, well, this is pretty good how we're doing it now, but have you had ideas about how we might do it even better? And 9 times out of 10, people share those values, because you tend to find the people you're working with are a similar sort of mindset and thinking along the same lines to yourself, and they'll say, oh, funny you should mention that, we've been looking at this and we're exploring this new avenue. And then you sort of start saying, right, well, tell me a bit more and see how we can embrace that to bring that into what we're doing. And it is collaborative, it's about being digital first, but having that kind of mindset and sharing that vision to keep challenging and keep pushing forward, I think is really, really central to everything.
And it does go to show you, as we've been saying, the importance, or perhaps how more important now the human touch is within the digital era, to bring everyone on board with that journey and give everybody a part to play, so that it can drive that innovation, creativity, generate ideas, and contribute to that.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, as great as technology is, if it doesn't connect with human values in some way, shape, or form, then it's going to always just be a little bit out there, a little bit disconnected. Mentioned some pieces of technology that have come and gone in the past that didn't quite succeed, and that's always been just down to whether or not they made that strong human connection or not. And unfortunately, the ones that don't, they go by the wayside. Sometimes they actually have the better tech in them. It's just one of those things. But there's a lot to do, and it's fascinating time to be doing it, I think.
Right, and the point you make there is interesting. Forbes and IBM did a study around digital transformation, and it kind of talks about defining the strategy was all very well. But by 2018, they're saying that 84% of execution was failing. And that's because potentially they were looking at the technology and the digital piece, but they were missing this human touch, and that bringing together really helps and really kind of form the glue, if you like, of then moving forward into what that meant for the culture of the organization, our customers, being more data-driven.
Yeah, I think as well, that's something that I get involved in quite a lot with the branding business. There's a lot of companies out there that are doing fantastic tech innovation, and they're really deep into that, quite passionate, and it's their world. Unfortunately, they've forgotten that the rest of the world don't understand that tech like they do. And it's that bridging piece to make sure that, the normal person on the street understands why that piece of tech is going to be great for them. What's it going to do? What difference is it going to make to me? when you speak to someone technical, they'll give you all these fantastic pieces of jargon, and it means a heck of a lot to them, but it doesn't to the majority of people. And that's the really, really big piece, getting that across, making sure there's people within your organisation that are fantastic at that, the technical piece, but equally there needs to be someone that can take that in really, really simple terms and say, this is the point of difference that this makes to you. And if you haven't got that, then you need to get it outsourced. It's because it's completely critical.
Yeah. Simple and brilliant, like CashCuff. That expresses it exactly, isn't it? The innovation and the way to explain it and what it means to me intuitively, as much as then when I get the key messages from you too. So this has been a fantastic and fascinating journey, Andy, throughout how you've innovated within your design business, within the fashion stroke fintech company, let's call it, your leadership journey, as well as the people journey that went along with it as well, and how to stay ahead of the game. So perhaps to end our journey, if I ask you as a leader, considering your own journey, what are the 2 or 3 learnings or pieces of advice that you could share with others that may help them fast track their own journey?
My first one would be to just try things. We've touched on it already during this interview, that it's never been easier to do these things, to fast track stuff through and just try it. You got ideas, you got thoughts, do something with them. Get them validated with some data, try them, test them, and measure it, and you'll be able to find that. But as we've said, make sure there's a strong human need and connection to whatever it is that you're producing. You can't just produce it for producing its sake. Whilst the technology might be impressive to people, there's got to be a reason for it existing. That would be my top one. Other things. I think one of the other key things I would say is team. Make sure that you find people who share your passion and interests and will support you no matter what. Right? Having a strong team of people around you is incredibly powerful. It is the central to everything that we do across both businesses, is that team communication piece. And to what we're doing now, there's never been easier ways to join people up, so it's really, really important. And if I was to do a third one,
putting you under pressure now.
Yeah, I think that probably this is going to sound a little bit contrite maybe to some people, but I think it's really important to think about working on your business, not in it. It's really easy to get sucked in to the day-to-day delivery, and there will always be things that are going to try and pull you back into that side of the things. But if you can keep yourself slightly distant from it, it gives you an amazing amount of headspace to look at things a bit more analytically, not be quite so emotional in the connections. That's not that you don't care, it's just that you've got to have a little bit of distance to give you that thinking space, so that you can take that bigger overview. Because when you're actually involved in the day-to-day delivery, you can be quite sort of blinkered in terms of what's happening with the bigger picture stuff. So it's a tricky one, without a doubt. And I think every kind of founder has this dilemma, particularly, because you've been with it from day one. But as things grow, that sort of stepping back and thinking about how are we going to keep this innovation going is more important in many ways than worrying about the minutiae of the delivery, because there will be other people that can do that. You need to keep pushing the innovation piece.
So really, in summary, it's give it a try.
Yep.
It's surround yourself by people who will contribute to that and take hold of it and run with it.
Yeah.
And by empowering them actually to do so, that gives you the time to take a step back and keep that strategic eye, that eye to the sky, as well as your feet on the ground when needed. But that is important basis. And really the first point in modern day businesses, as we've seen when we went through the recent pandemic, that very fast acceleration into dispersed working, which was not normalized at that point because we had other priorities as well. and you had to experiment to get it right. And I love, one of my partners uses a great terminology. He says, he keeps saying, we need to move from creating PowerPoints to creating prototypes. That's what we need to do. And that's it. And he is talking about the team from that point of view as well. We need to empower more, create leaders at all level, so that actually our executive leadership can keep that eye to the sky and keep us going in that direction and navigate the course in the speed. Yeah. So Andy, look, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great. So many great messages and learnings that have come out of this. So how can people get in touch with you if they'd like to connect?
Sure. You can connect on LinkedIn. You'll find me, Andy Boothman, on LinkedIn. If you want to find out more about DressCode, we're online. So that's all the W's, dresscodeshirts.co.uk. And hope to hear from you soon. And thank you very much for your time.
Fantastic. Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you for joining our Guest Practices videocast. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel through the link below, or check out our website to access more in our current series of expert interviews.